preserves a copy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sending it over now.
Yeah, I have a thing on my computer that says it's now streaming live on YouTube.
Okay.
So we should be good.
Yeah, oh, that's cool.
Okay, now I have to mute this. And okay, let me just okay, whenever you're ready.
All right. I don't have my gavel, so we'll just bang, bam, bam. Call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Michael, do you want to put the picture of the flag up and we can do the
Yes,
pledge?
I will do that. Let's see here. And okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United
United
States
States
of
of America,
America and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for which
which
it
which
stands
stands
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
and justice.
with liberty and justice for all. Well, that was a live test of what it sounds like when everybody's talking over everybody. So we'll have to make sure we mind our virtual P's and Q's as much as possible. But hey, that was all right. All right, we'll do attendance. Adam Blythe is absent with cause. Luann Homa.
Here.
Jim Bonner. Is he muted? I know
Jim
he's-
is muted.
All right.
Oh, he is.
I know he's here. Jim, can you hear us now?
I wonder if he can. Oh, you know what? He may not have the ability. That's on me. Okay. Let me change that setting.
We're good. You
All
just
right,
did
now
it.
he's there. All right,
Okay.
Jim Bonner here.
Here.
Carrie Fox.
Here.
Brian Snyder. He was muted too, but I know he's here.
He's unmuted. He's good.
Scott Tadowski is here. I heard you, Brian. Erica Josephowski
Here.
and Mayor Eric Carter.
Here.
All right. We also have our borough manager, Michael Nestico, borough solicitor, David Rigoli. The chief is not here, correct? I didn't see
I
him.
don't believe so.
Okay. And I didn't see Anthony Rooney, the code enforcement officer either, correct?
Although, again, let me make sure that because these some are unlabeled.
Okay.
I'm going to unmute.
Everybody.
Michael, you're still sharing your screen.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to unmute everyone. There should be an unmute all. Okay. Everybody's unmuted at this point. If the chief of police or code enforcement officer are present, please let us know at this time.
The chief's here, Mike.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
All right, moving down to the next piece, the exceptions to our open meetings law. We had no exception, or we had no executive sessions since our last meeting. Moving to minutes. The minutes are posted online. We need a motion to approve the minutes from the March 3rd, 2020 regular council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Carrie, and I think it was Jim, correct?
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous, 6-0. All right, that brings us to our citizens portion, our citizens comment portion of the meeting. I know there were a few people that were in here earlier that we were able to talk about. If Michael is going to unmute everybody that is in here, if you are interested in making a public comment, could you just state your name? We'll write them down in kind of the order that we have them, and then we'll go back through and make sure we get to hear from everybody. So if you are interested in the citizens comment portion right now, please state your name.
I don't have to. I talked to Luann. You know,
Right.
a lot of people don't have that luxury or friendship. So
All right. Do we have anybody that wants to do public comment?
There's still some people that are muted.
I unmuted them and they're muting themselves back. So,
Okay.
All
yeah,
right.
I'll do it one more. I'm going to unmute. Obviously, some of these folks are muting themselves again. That's okay. Just want to be sure.
Just want to make sure we don't miss anybody that wants to publicly make a comment.
the only thing I'd say is, are you paying our bills this month?
Okay, and we
I
can do it
do
again
not
at the
want
end
to
of the meeting
publicly
as
make a
well.
comment. I just want to be muted still, and then my kids in their play isn't heard during this.
Okay, no problem. I think we heard from everybody else
Okay,
that wanted to or did not want to. All right. That takes care of that. Moving down the list to committee and department reports. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything that you would like to share?
I don't have a report this month. Somebody forgot to get it to me. But I had several things scheduled towards the end of last month, but everything got canceled. So I really don't have a report this month.
Gotcha. Thank you. As far as the moving along to the president's report, I don't have a whole lot to offer either, as most of the events, like the mayor said, have been canceled. Obviously, just on a personal note, everything has been turned upside down since our last meeting. I will say to the residents that are watching, that have joined us, that will watch recording later on, the borough is continuing to operate business as usual. While you cannot enter the building to pay bills and do some of the borough business, face to face, please continue to reach out via telephone, via email. Somebody is there to, answer the telephone, return emails. If you do not get somebody when you call, just please leave a message, and we will get back to you just as fast as we humanly can. And then the other piece of that is all of us as council members, all of our information is also on the website. Our borough email addresses, our telephone numbers are all listed on there as well. So again, while we physically can't get into the borough building at this time, please do not hesitate to reach out to the borough building, to any of the 7 of us as council members, Michael, the chief, everybody that is affiliated with the borough. We are, continuing to serve as best we can. I don't have anything else specifically. I know we'll go down through our list of different things that have been postponed and pushed to new dates once we get those, but just wanted to remind people that we are up and running business as usual. The solicitor, Mr. Rigoli, do you have anything for us?
Very briefly, I just want to let you know that I have been talking to your borough manager on a daily basis. We've been trying to coordinate and walk through this uncharted territory together. We've collaborated extensively with the mayor on the potential of doing an emergency declaration. We also spoke with the Office of Open Records and have an opinion that we're able to do a meeting like this under this governor's emergency declaration. So I think we're on good, solid legal grounds to be able to communicate like this, as long as we have a record of it and make it available and give the public an opportunity to comment as much as possible. And that's all I have.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Me almost on a daily basis, as well as the mayor over the last couple of weeks to make sure that we addressed all of his concerns as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. The police chief, Bill, I know you are here. Do you have anything I know we published your reports and everything online. Is there anything you'd like to talk about while you are here?
No, I have no report, Mr. President, but I am the one that forgot to give the mayor his report, and I apologize. That's all I have.
What happened? Oh, I'm sorry.
He's muted.
How the heck did that happen? Okay, I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem. All right. Thanks, Chief. Well, Michael, it's on to you anyways. It's your turn, so maybe that's why.
Okay, well, the code officer's report, I just got it and it's posted on the website as well. I did change the setting here so that people can unmute themselves so we don't keep running into the same issue. I'll screen share. I think this should work. So everyone can see the agenda. You'll see, obviously, as we all know, a lot of events are canceled or postponed. That includes the Easter egg hunt, the Earth Day cleanup, obviously primary election day, recreation board meeting at the end of the month, and also the borough offices are closed this Friday due to a holiday. Several reports are posted on the website, the legislative locator, the league link. The engineer's report is also posted on as well. And the engineer's report does contain a few items of business. I'll get to a couple of them below. They are for resolutions for grant funding opportunities. So unless there's any questions from council, I'd ask for consideration for a motion to pay the borough bills for the month of March 2020.
So moved.
Second.
You want me to take this portion?
Sorry, we had what, Carrie on the first time. I missed the second. I apologize.
Erica.
That was my guess. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 6-0. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. The next item is a motion for a resolution that is provided by the engineer to get funding for the ARLE, A-R-L-E, Automated Red Light Enforcement Funding Program grant that we received for 10th and Corbett. So that, again, I believe the screen share is up. So actually I'm on the editor, so I won't be able to pull it up, but that is just a very simple resolution for grant funding to get the red light replaced at 10th and Corbett. So I ask council if there is consideration for a motion to adopt resolution 20-02, resolution of the Borough of Tarentum, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing the execution of an automated red light enforcement funding program grant agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
So moved. Second.
Carrie on the first, Luann on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
6-0. Go ahead, Michael.
Next item is a motion. You'll see it's numbered out of order. It did come in late in the day yesterday from our engineer. This is a resolution to apply for funding of up to $500,000 through the COG. That is through the Allegheny County Redevelopment Authority for a grant to repair the spring, the natural water spring on East 7th and Ormond Street. We did apply for this same grant last year. It was a resolution 1907, I believe. We did not get funding last year. We're trying again this year. The reason we're trying for this specific project is because it is one of the mandates as part of the DEP consent order through the UAJSA. It is a large project. It's estimated to be over a $500,000 project. So we're, of course, hoping to get grant funding for this sort of this project. So if there are any questions, otherwise, I'd ask council for consideration for a motion to adopt resolution 20-06, a resolution of the Borough of Tarentum, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing the filing of an application for funds with the redevelopment authority of Allegheny County.
So moved.
Second.
Carrie on the first, and I believe it was Jim on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 6-0.
Next item is an ordinance that we have talked about for the last couple months, a salary ordinance that we want to get in the habit of adopting each year. Normally, this ordinance would be adopted in December in conjunction with the budget. So I ask council for consideration for a motion to adopt ordinance 20-01, an ordinance of the Borough of Tarentum, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, fixing the levels of employees of all departments of the Borough of Tarentum and the rates of compensation thereof for calendar year 2020.
So moved. Second.
Carrie on the first, Luann on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0.
Okay, and then the last item, not the last item, but the next item is I apologize here, I'm trying to get my screen back in front of me. Is a motion to consider the adoption of the organizational chart, a revised organizational chart. It is posted on the website. Wanted to give council an opportunity to look at that. It just corrects a few minor items with regard to the Public Works Department and that the electric and distribution fall under that. So unless there are any questions, I would ask for consideration for a motion to adopt the revised Tarentum Borough organizational chart.
So moved.
Second.
Carrie on the first, Erica on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0.
And then the next item you'll see on the screen, it's probably not on the agenda in front of you. It's an item that was intended to be on there, but ultimately I forgot to have this listed. And talking with Luann earlier today, she brought it to my attention that it was omitted. This is a motion to extend the property tax discount period for Tarentum Borough. So because we have not had a discussion on this, I want to certainly allow for opportunity for that. Essentially, the tax collector came to me earlier in the month and inquiring about the possibility of extending the discount period for Tarentum Borough property taxes. This is something that the county did. They extended their deadline by a month. I don't really see any harm in doing that. It's a benefit to the community. Obviously, with these difficult times and financial hardships for some folks, this may be a bit of a help. This would extend only the discount period deadline for a 1-month period from April 30th to May 31st. We can certainly examine the potential for extending any other deadlines as we see how this the government restrictions and the shutdown play out. But for the time being, this was the item brought to me. I don't think that it's a problem financially for the borough or otherwise. I think it helps the community. I think it helps the tax office because of the limited hours and things like that. So I'm certainly open to field any questions. I know Luann could certainly do the same. And otherwise, that's the motion that is being put forth, or that I guess I would ask someone to put forth or consider. So any thoughts, feedback, or questions, or maybe the solicitor may want to weigh in from a legal standpoint.
As long as you're not in jeopardy of, if you have enough money in the general fund to cover you for another month, because that's the only thing I can see, Michael.
Sure. Yeah, and the discount, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 2%. Not a substantial, financial swing one way or the other to allow that extra month. So it shouldn't hamper operations or cash flow.
Okay, that's the only issue.
Brian, are you still muted?
Yeah, Brian's muted.
If
Brian's
he's muted,
muted.
it may be muted on his own end. He's unmuted in the in this group.
I'll
Yeah,
make that motion.
Second.
Of Carrie on the first, and Jim on the second. I was just gonna say, I think it's a great idea. Follow along with the county, all in favor? Or Dave, do we need to do a roll call on this, or can we just do?
Well, as long as it's unanimous, I would do it all in favor. If anybody votes against it, then do a roll
Then
call.
do a
so we
roll
can see.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did Brian vote? Brian, if it's a yes, Brian, just give a thumbs up. Okay, that's a yes.
I think he's
Alright.
muted on his own end, though. Let's see. I'll
I
mute
think
and
he might
unmute.
be. All right. I have 6-0 unanimous.
I changed the settings so people can unmute themselves, so he should be able, he's unmuted, but should be okay.
Now he's muted again.
I'm clicking on it here. Yeah. We lost you.
Brian, I
Log
think,
out and log back in.
could be the connection in San Francisco he's having problems with.
Looks like he jumped off the bridge.
I know.
Poor Brian.
Is he gonna, Brian, are you gonna try to log off and log back in? Because we'll wait for you. It'll only take 30 seconds.
He's back.
I believe he left, so let's see, give him a chance to come back in here. Oh wait, no, he's still here.
Since we're doing that, are we not voting on the new advertised date for the June 2nd regular council meeting anymore?
Good question. Sorry, I'm losing my video. I did take that off of the agenda. The only reason being is that I don't know, I think we all don't know what's going to occur with any potential continued shutdown. And that is the next primary day. But if that primary gets continued, we could keep our date. So my thought was, let's hold off until May and see how things play out. And
Okay.
if we need
Okay.
to do that, we could do it in May.
Okay, so we're removing that.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen version. So if there is something I'm missing, please just tell me.
Looks like Brian's back.
And Michael, I think that takes you to the end of yours.
Yes. correct.
Everything in your section, so we can move on to Public Works, Miss Homa.
Yeah, make a motion to adopt the revised job description for Public Works Director.
This is actually just changing the title, correct?
That's correct. It
Correct.
is. So the job description remains the same, but it was kind of something that I noticed along the way. A director essentially is responsible for multiple departments. That's what we have in Public Works. They oversee a distribution and electric. So just kind of wanted to get it in line with what the position entails. That's all.
All right,
So
so I
moved.
have Luann on the first. So we have a second.
Second.
Jim on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it as 6-0. All right, go ahead, Luann.
Okay, a motion to award the Second Avenue Bridge Street Storm Sewer Separation Project contract to Ron Gillette Incorporated in the amount of $116,373.71.
Second.
I have Luann on the first. I have Carrie on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I believe Michael is sharing on the screen right now. Looks like the three different bids of 116, 134, and the other company at 200 and almost $250,000.
Correct. And if you look down below, there were also three others that bid. So Gillette came in clearly lower than at least 4 of the 5.
Gotcha. I had Luann on the first, Carrie on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I have that passing 6-0, unanimous. Anything else, Luann?
No, I didn't get a street department report, but I know the guys are out there doing what they can do.
Yeah, I've seen them out and about for sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Bonner, moves on to you for utilities.
Okay, the monthly water report is posted there. I don't know that we need to kind of review that, but it'll get added to the website. We do have a motion would like to recommend, and that is that the borough formally follows with voluntary compliance the PUC, Public Utility Commission's ruling that you will suspend terminations of utilities. For us, that would be water and electricity in compliance with the emergency declaration by the governor.
We have to have him officially read that, make a motion to adopt resolution. Do we have to officially read the language that Michael has there, Dave?
Just the title.
Okay. Mr. Bonner, you made a resolution. I'm sorry, you made a motion for resolution number 20-03. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jim on the first, Carrie on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Michael has had the resolution up there on the screen as well. Anything else? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Oh, go ahead.
I just, go ahead. I'll let Jim finish.
No, that's it. Thanks.
Just to add in, just so there's no confusion to not only council, but certainly the public as well. We did have a draft agenda publicized in advance of the meeting. We did remove a couple items from that draft. I think they appeared in this section here. So just to be clear to the public, in case anyone is inquiring, there was intended to be some discussion about utility account management software, and we removed that, and also discussion about the water rates for East Deer Township. Those items were removed. We have a little bit more homework to do on those items. So I don't want to mislead anybody who may have a copy or have pulled up a copy of the draft agenda that did include a few other items. So those are the items that you can see there that were on there. We eliminated those, and so now we can move on. I don't mean to interrupt Jim if he has anything else.
Nope, that's good.
Thank you, sir. Miss Fox, ADN COG.
I have no report. There was no meeting held in March due to the COVID-19.
iPad. Moto G7. iPhone.
Miss Homa, the comp plan.
Yes, we actually did a Zoom meeting last Monday just to try to finalize a few things. We've all picked our top three
Device. Not
items that
found.
we want to
Ready
have
to
on the
pair.
comp plan. And that's basically it. And hopefully we can all meet again soon to finish it all up. That's it.
Sorry, I was writing notes.
That's okay.
All righty, thank you very much. Going to finance and administration, Mr. Blythe is not here. However, there are links to 3 different reports that are posted online: the budget report, the check register report, and the year-to-date revenue/expenditure report. So those are all available for anybody that wants to view them. Back to Carrie for Parks, Rec, and Library.
There's a fence repair and relocation discussion. Michael, did you want to chat? Because I don't know anything about this.
Sure.
Really.
So this was an item that you had brought up in the safety meeting about the fence repair at the water park,
Right.
the spray park. So we did get quotes in the safety meetings that we had last month. We discussed the potential for either repair or a relocation of that fence. The issue being, I think, as we all know, it keeps becoming damaged either by oncoming traffic or whatnot. We did get 2 quotes. However, because this wasn't a budgeted item, I wanted to present it to council. So you can see there on the agenda, there's a $2,400 cost to do the repair. If we wanted to relocate the fence and move it back some, that's around a $7,000 cost, obviously somewhat substantial for an item that's not budgeted for. So council certainly doesn't have to make a decision today, but because we got the quotes, it makes sense to ask council whether there is any consideration for doing this. If we, again, if we relocate, the idea would be to try to move it back off of the road a little bit. The problem is that fence is quite long. We've extended the whole way down past the playground. The relocation may not incorporate the entire fence. Of course, we want to keep the symmetry there in the park. So the repair would seem to make the most sense. If you want to move forward on that, I think if anybody's driven by there, you probably have seen the damage. It looks like a vehicle hit into it. So we can certainly do that, but it's, and if there are any other questions, we can certainly field those from council now and go back to the drawing board if there are any other ideas or thoughts. But the quotes came in, so that's why I wanted to have it available for council if you want to consider any of this.
Yeah, when I brought this up at the safety meeting, it came up about the fence, and the reason I said about I didn't realize you got quotes, but the reason I said about relocating it completely is because if we keep putting money into repairing the fence, you're spending twice as well, multiple times we've repaired it. So I don't know how much we put into the fence in repairing it versus just relocating it and solving the problem totally, than to have people keep hitting the fence and we have to keep putting money into the fence. So if we do it right, and we don't have to keep replacing it then. So I know that pylons are put in there, but the pylons should be on the outside of the fence, not the inside of the fence. So I don't know I don't know if it was just going to be part of the fence moved in and then the pylons put on the outside of the fence and then the playground portion still be out by the road. I didn't know how it was going to be done, but if it's going to be relocated, my suggestion would be that we spent the money properly this time properly than to keep replacing a fence that just keeps getting damaged over and over.
I agree with you, Carrie.
I'm sorry.
Michael. I agree with you in the sense that it's, we probably have replaced it at least 3 times, I bet you. Maybe twice, 3 times. If we're continuing to spend that amount of money, we do it again 2 more times, we're almost at that relocation fee. But go ahead, Michael.
So 2 items to help just kind of give some insight. It's a 147 feet of fence that would be all new, and then 5 panels to fix the damage. I don't believe that is the entire length of the playground. I can confirm that, but more importantly, there was one concern from Public Works, and that was if you do move this area back, and this wasn't something that I had ever considered or thought of, but it does make sense. If you move the fence back several feet, we'll say, to allow for traffic to not bump into that or damage it, the concern could then become a safety one, because if they have kids trying to cross the street or walk over there, things like that, now they would be walking basically between a roadway and a fence, nowhere else really to go. I don't really know necessarily how that would play out, but certainly you could assume that could create some confusion. If a kid tries to cut across the road, but then can't get into the park until they walk along the roadway between the fence there. So the setback, we won't have the ability to set it back enough to compensate for that, like you have on the other side of the road, where you have a buffer and a sidewalk, because you have fixtures, equipment, playground equipment, things like that, trees. So that was one thing they brought to my attention. Again, this may not be ripe for decision right now, but because the quote came in, Public Works was asking me what we want to do. And I said, well, look, I'll run it by council. And that was brought to my attention. That for me was enough of a reason to say, well, maybe we do the replacement. Just the repair at this time, and then, kind of see how it plays out from there. But again, if you're trying, you're leaning towards a full relocation of the fence, then maybe we need to hash these things out before we make a final decision. If you want to just simply do the repair and move on, then maybe we're able to make that decision today. So that's kind of what we're left with, I would say.
Oh, I thought you meant that the whole fence was getting replaced. I don't know how much of the fence is getting replaced. It was just the way you said it. But whatever fence is getting replaced, I just think once we make the decision, that we should make the decision the right way. And I don't think it would create a walkway if there's pylons in the grassy area, to prevent anyone from walking there. And how far in is the fence going to be set?
That's what I'm saying. I don't have, so that's not on the proposal here, but I would assume it's a few feet. They can't move it in too far, meaning they
Right,
can't.
because the spray park.
Correct. You have, well, and the spray park, I think, is less of an issue as the playground and some of the fixtures of the playground. You have certain, obviously you're familiar, you have to have certain buffers around the different fixtures in the park. So a swing set, or a play area has to have a certain amount of space around it. And so I think that was what was pointed out to me by Public Works is if you go and replace this fence, the full length of the park, and set it in several feet, you're going to, one, create that walkway, and two, you may not be able to do it when you get down by the playground area because of the different fixtures and because of the trees. So that's probably not the best approach is what their feedback was. So that's why, like I said, I'm of the opinion that if we do want to consider the full replacement, we may have to go to the drawing board and maybe even include the engineer in this discussion. If it's simply just replace the panels that are damaged, the lower cost than the quote, I think we can go ahead and move forward with that. If you want to make that expenditure, having not budgeted for it.
Yeah,
That's all.
my opinion would be to do nothing until we know what we're doing correctly. That would be my opinion. I don't think I would say let's replace anything until we do it properly.
I don't think we should spend the money on repairing it right now either. I mean, it's always damaged. It's a constant
Exactly.
battle, so let's just do it the right way.
Yeah, until we get more information.
Michael, maybe whenever you can get some information, I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world if the thing in front of the spray park was pushed in, I don't know, 2 feet, 36 inches, something like that. And then you have, once you get to the edge of the spray park, I'm thinking you have like one diagonal thing to kind of keep it on the road the rest of the way down, because I would hate to move all of that because that part never gets hit.
Yeah, my thoughts.
That only part that gets hit is right in front of that spray park. And, I like the idea of symmetry because everything is a nice straight line and it looks nice, but we're ripping up probably 100 feet of fence for, just to make it look nice for, that amount of money. But I also like the idea if we're going to spend, even $2,500, we might as well make it the right decision.
Okay, I'll have the engineer weigh in. I have a feeling that may have an impact on this discussion, and then we'll come back to the drawing board here next month with some more information.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we have time.
Yeah, I don't think it's a rush to make that decision either.
No, because that spray park doesn't open till Memorial Day traditionally, correct?
Correct.
Even though it doesn't look good, I don't think it's hurting anybody being damaged.
I agree with you, Carrie. Anything else under Parks and Rec and Library?
Not at this time. We haven't been able to meet. The only thing, I don't know if you all know, I'm sure you know that Pat Seeger passed away. He's been instrumental to the recreation board and the bands down at the park. So our sympathy and prayers go out to his family and his friends. He was just very well loved by the recreation board, and he was a huge part of our family in Tarentum Borough. So our sympathies go out to everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Snyder, special events tourism. I guess we don't have a whole lot of tourism going on right now, but
not right now. We had a meeting the end of last month, and it went really well. We came up with some brilliant ideas. Unfortunately, given the timeline that we have right now, I'm not sure that we'll be able to make any of them come to fruition. but we'll wait and see where this quarantine goes, and maybe we will actually be able to plan some things for fall. But right now, as it looks to me, the summer is going to be a wash. And right now, there's just not enough time to plan for the things that we discussed doing in June. So unfortunately, that's where we are right now. A lot of really wonderful ideas and nothing to do with them. So, but we'll keep our fingers crossed for late summer and fall and see if we can get something happening.
Michael, is everyone unmuted?
Well,
Not just us, but everyone?
No.
no, but everybody has the ability to mute or unmute themselves.
Okay.
So
I wanted to know if the chief wanted to weigh in on the park fence situation.
oh yeah, if he's still on the line, he could do that. I think he's here.
Yeah, I'm here, Mike. I tried several times. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can.
Yeah, if we're back to the fence, if you don't mind, if we can set it back a couple feet and spend the money for a guardrail there for safety reasons to put in front of that fence, there would be nowhere for somebody to walk. It would just be a lot safer. The guardrail is gonna stop a lot more than what that fence does. That would help out a lot. I've been asking for that for years. Something to think about, please.
I think that's a great idea, Chief.
Okay, yeah, I noted that as well.
It gives you a little bit more safety than the aluminum fence.
Exactly. Yeah. A little more durability and still nowhere to mistake for a walkway.
Exactly. If you're setting it back a foot or two, it should be enough room. I know it's very costly for guardrail, but it's a lot solid, it's safer for the kids, for the spray park, playground there. It would help out a lot better.
If something really bad would happen, I'd rather have a steel guardrail there than an aluminum fence between a truck and a kid.
Exactly.
Chief, you talking the whole way, the whole length from the spray park to the end of the playground?
I've always suggested that it goes in from the spray park to the end of the playground.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. I think we were done, Brian, with you for special events and tourism. I think we are down to Ms. Josephowski, redevelopment and revitalization.
Nothing at this time.
In keeping with you, on property health and zoning.
Okay, so I have an ordinance. I'd like to motion to advertise ordinance 20-02. This is for abolishing the planning commission of the borough of Tarentum and establishing the Tarentum Borough Planning Committee.
Second.
Oh, hold on. What were you doing there, Michael?
Sorry.
No, you're good. It was all like flashing as I was taking
I
notes.
apologize. I was putting on the screen.
Is everybody aware what we're talking about with the motion that Erica just wrote? Oh, I'm sorry, just read.
Yes. Yeah, can someone tell me where this came from or why we're doing this?
Yes, so there should be a little bit of discussion on the motion so that we can iron out exactly what we would envision here. So the idea behind this, very simply, is that now that we're doing a zoning ordinance rewrite, when you do through the municipal planning code, the MPC, a planning agency, planning commission must review that document and then recommend it to council. As we're situated right now, we have a borough planning commission. It's made up of 3 members, two vacant seats on that board, 5-member board. We've had difficulty filling those seats. Those individuals would meet with, in this case, the consultant that we hired, and then make a recommendation to council. It's an extra step in the process, in my opinion, when you're looking at how municipal operations occur in the year 2020. In years past, as I think I explained to council in the email, there was a need for volunteer groups like a planning commission to take on these sort of responsibilities. You didn't have paid professionals, you didn't have consulting teams and things like that. Now, because we did hire a consultant, a professional, you have a paid borough manager, paid zoning officer, things like that. It makes more sense to have those individuals in conjunction with, in this case, what I would envision, probably 2 council members make up a planning commission, or I'm sorry, committee or agency of some sort that would ultimately work with the consultant to iron out the details about new zoning, what you're looking for, what works in the community, what makes the most sense, and things like that, potential development, whatever the lay of the land may be for zoning. And then ultimately, that group kind of as the maybe more professional group working within the zoning ordinance rewrite would then present to council as a whole for adoption. So what it does is it eliminates the need for a consultant to basically to communicate and work with a group of volunteers that right now we kind of don't have, and pour over the details and inner workings of the municipal layout. So that's essentially what I envision. I don't know if the solicitor has anything to add to that from like a legal standpoint. A lot of municipalities are trending in this direction because you have paid teams that are kind of working on these things. And the planning commission is simply just a recommending body. They don't have any authority. And so they would essentially be the ones that tell council, this is what we've come up with, and this is what you should adopt. And then council ultimately makes the decision regardless. So I'll turn it over.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the municipal planning code recommends 2 bodies. They either recommend what we have, which is the planning commission, which should consist of your residents in your borough and council people, which we did have council people on our planning commission, which was me and Erica. And you recommended that we resign because you felt that our residents, which is our planning commission we have right now, and we do have 3 able-bodied people on there that are residents that are willing to be our planning commission. And that, but you recommended that we get off of there because, and resign because you felt that the residents should be the planning commission and they should recommend to the council. So now you're saying you want council members to be that body and then they should recommend to the council. Is that right?
Partially. What I'm saying is
because the municipal planning code, it could either be, we could change it to a committee of elected officials because it could be either or.
Yeah, so you could have a planning agency, you can have your consultant, your engineer, your manager, your zoning officer make up part of that committee. The idea previously, when this issue was raised, it didn't make sense to have 2 council members on a board that recommends to council. That didn't seem to make much sense when we were talking about appointments to the board. In this particular case, frankly, we're almost giving a name to an entity, a planning agency that really is just a collection of the professionals and those committed within the borough operation that know the zoning, that know the town, and that know what we might be looking for. And those individuals would basically just work with the consultant. Ultimately, no matter which setup you have, council makes the ultimate decision. But instead of having a consultant work with 7 council members, or even with 3 able-bodied current volunteer members of the community, you're still going to have the zoning officer and the manager weighing in on that process. So it seems like an unnecessary step from my standpoint, because to coordinate meetings and communicate with a consultant, you're going to bring in 3 essentially lay people that are going to have to commit their time and energy to learning it, only to recommend it back to the same people. So that's kind of why it makes, in my mind, sense to simply do away with it. You see it in other municipalities, just pointed out to council in that email that Ligonier Township just did this a couple months ago, Washington Township, some others, Ross Straver, because it's a trend that municipalities are going in. One, because volunteerism is lacking, but two, at the end of the day, you didn't have paid and professional consultants doing a lot of this planning in the past, whereas we do now. So most of the most of the concepts and the ideas surrounding a new zoning ordinance are going to come from a professional paid consultant. We're paying them to help design this for us. So they are really the ones that are bringing the resources and the information to the table. So, it just seems like it's eliminating a step. But yes, to your point, why I said that before 2 years ago about not having council members on a board, the reason is it didn't make sense to have council sit on a board and recommend it to themselves. In this case, it's just simply a committee that can put their minds together, but really, working through it, it ultimately goes to council anyway. So.
Well,
I'd like to propose that we table this for a little more discussion. It does seem like this came, at least to me, came a little bit out of nowhere. And I don't feel like I'm perhaps as up to speed with some of the issues as I could be. But first of all, it's kind of an awkward meeting we're having. So I think it would be nice to be able to have a little more fruitful discussion about this. But also, you were creating another committee as opposed to rolling the activities of this into the redevelopment revitalization committee or the property health zoning committee. So we're now just, again, giving a new name to the committee exists and eliminating any public input. If it's going to take a bunch of meetings with the engineers and your consultants and a couple of council people, having 2 or 3 members of the public involved really won't complicate it. And it seems like either the council people and engineers go to the commission meeting or the members of the public get involved and invited to the committee meeting. Either way, you can still at least have some public input, which is critical and important. And it doesn't take any more meetings. Out of whatever meeting that is going to be the recommendation to council.
I agree with you, Jim.
yeah, I agree, because you have 3 able-bodied people that are willing to serve your community, and to say to them, now we don't want anything to do with you and we don't want you. And it says in the municipal planning code that what we already have established in Tarentum Borough Code is already that we have a commission already in our Tarentum Borough Code, which is supposed to include, a commission is supposed to include council members and the public.
It doesn't say that in our code.
Not in our code, but in municipal planning code. You can have it either way. You can have a commission or you can have a committee. And we've always had a commission. And it's in Tarentum Borough Code that we have a commission.
That's correct.
Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, that's correct. That's what I'm asking council to consider abolishing.
Right.
And again,
Yeah,
because
well, I don't think it's a good idea to abolish.
that's fine.
I think our public is very vital to our community, and I think that they have a right to be involved.
Sure, but so they have public hearings and things like that. I think maybe I'm not explaining it clearly enough. And the reason, to address Jim's question or concern about it being coming out of nowhere, it did seemingly come out of nowhere. That's in fact exactly what happened, because we're now kicking everything off with the planning team. And so as they began to send me, again, the initial information and emails and start to kind of data gather and things like that, my first thought is, geez, okay, how are we going to coordinate this? What would be the most effective way to do this? Obviously leaning on a consulting team, but if we have 3 members of the community, lay people that have essentially no understanding of our zoning laws and our, the current issues that we face, the current hurdles that we're, trying to adapt and overcome. We have a pending zoning matter with the billboards that we all know about. The reason why that's such a frustration is because it's such an intricate issue that wasn't, it wasn't drafted and done properly to begin with when they did zoning, 7 or 8 years ago. And so because these are, in some ways, very intricate matters, very detailed matters, I'm of the opinion, being in this office 40 hours a week with a zoning officer also in the office 40 hours a week, a consulting team, I think it'd be more prudent to have those people who do this daily working hands-on within this effort, so that if emails are being thrown around about what would you like to do with this, or what are your thoughts on that, or hey, examine this, you have somebody that's there, very responsive. You can move this process along. Again, you can have the 3 members of the community that are currently appointed. All 3 of their terms expire at the end of this year. You could certainly have them dive in. I just think, one, I haven't heard from the 3 of them regarding, this matter. And right now, the code says that's who you turn it over to. They're the ones that are responsible for making a recommendation. At the end of the day, what I envision, and the reason why I'm making the recommendation, is I think that you're still going to have myself, the zoning officer, poring over this, analyzing it, probably not having the council members as involved, which I think they should be, because they're the ultimate group of individuals adopting it. And then having meetings with the planning commission, that ultimately we're going to turn it back to council anyway. We've talked about this with the utility issues and the rates, where, Jim's recommendation, hey, we should have, some council members who are appointed to this committee look into this and then kind of help make that recommendation to the whole. It makes more sense to kind of divide up the resources there and really hone in and focus on the topic. So that was what I kind of envisioned through this. I'm not trying to upset, rock the boat, I guess it would be. If council doesn't want to move forward with it, it's not going to break my heart. It's just, I think it's going to be a duplication of efforts and energy trying to convey things to members of the public that don't have a background in zoning and land use, and then ultimately, doubling back to council on that. So I was just trying to eliminate that step. Certainly, you don't have to do that, and if you're not comfortable with it, the last item I'll mention is the makeup of that group. That's what I believe needs more discussion. At the very beginning of this, I didn't want to pass an ordinance without that defining exactly who that group would be. Now, again, I had a vision of what I thought that group would entail, but again, if you don't have any desire to adopt it, then I don't think we even need to go down that path of who from council or how many council or what committee from council. You simply don't do it, and you engage the 3 folks in whatever capacity they need to be engaged in. We've reached out to the community over the last 2 years trying to fill the other 2 spots on that seat. We don't have any volunteer interest for that. In fact, we've had 1 resign from the group since then. So, that's kind of where we're situated. That was the only reason for the recommendation, but you can certainly keep it as it is.
Michael, and
Helps to clarify it more.
Michael, you may want to just tell them that it seems like that's a trend now, because it's getting harder and harder to get people to volunteer. So because of that, and it is a technical board, that it's been a trend lately, and we see it more often than not, that they go from planning commissions to planning committees. But it doesn't matter to me either. Whatever council wants to do, I'm fine with.
Well, I like the discussion back and forth, but I think Luann made a motion. So if we don't get a second, it kind of is, dead in the water. And if we want to bring it up later on at another meeting where hopefully we're all face to face and have
that's correct. If there's not a second on a motion, then and if there is a second, then if Jim wanted to table it, you'd have to, someone would have to withdraw their second and withdraw the motion.
Didn't Erica technically make the motion?
I did, and you can second it, and we can still vote no if we want to.
Yeah, Erica technically made the motion.
Or like Dave, you just said, Luann, I believe you were.
Yeah, I could withdraw my second to leave this up for more discussion, I think, at a later date. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I believe, Dave, that's what you were talking about, correct?
Yes, I didn't know who made the motion.
Okay, so if I withdraw, I'm going to withdraw my second, and we'll just to table this, but not to just totally disregard it, but to discuss it later when we have when everybody else has a little more information on it.
Okay, so just don't then the motion would die for lack of second, and you can bring it back up at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, I just want to make sure we were doing it right.
What, if I may ask, just so that I have some direction, because again, I kind of detailed this in an email to council, and I'm now just hearing about some reluctance. What exactly do we want to, what do you want me to bring back to the table, if anything? I mean, what needs to change over the next month that you want to hear or that you want to examine?
Michael, I agree with you. It sounds like you're trying for a more streamlined approach, less people in less people in the way that we need to go through and have consult with us and consult with other people. Like you mentioned, you and Anthony already there in the office 40 hours a week. I think if you wanted to put together a commission or a committee, I should say, with people that are more knowledgeable than your average resident, I'm on board with you. Everything that you said makes sense to me. So if there's anything to table, I can't think of anything that I'd like you to bring back that was different than what you already explained.
Well, I think with you, Brian, I agree with you. I think maybe everybody needs to go back and reread that email again. And if they have any questions, then present them more to Michael so he can explain it to them. I understand what he's trying to do also to try to streamline everything.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Make it move along better.
Right. That's what it sounded like to me. That, instead of having these people, and, like Michael, you just said, we had somebody resign. We can't get people that want to take the appointment. It might be time to go ahead with your idea of abolishing it. Like I said, everything in your email and that you just explained here makes sense to me. I understand what you're going for. So
One
I
thing
don't know.
that, oh, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
No, I just was going to finish up and say I don't know what there is to be tabled, but I'm going to go with Michael on this one. But if anybody wants more time to read over the emails and discuss it again, that's fine with me also.
Well, I think Jim made a good point. We have these other committees. It might be something that we can kind of,
Integrate.
work into the property and zoning committee that already exists, or redevelopment and revitalization. I think there's just a little bit more to talk about before we formally vote.
Yeah, I think my desire to postpone it was just to have a little more conversation and background to it. I'm not necessarily against it, but I think we should ensure some way for public input. We don't want to exclude that completely. And second is, if we do want to begin looking at our governance structure, basically, it seems like it would be a good opportunity to look at all of our boards, commissions, committees, and realign them to whatever is best to meet the needs of the current new world that we have for the borough. And given Luann said we're about to come out of a comprehensive planning process, maybe that's a great time to look at all of these governing bodies and align them, reduce them. We now have, 10 or 11 different ones. Maybe we only need 5 or 6. I don't know. I just think it's, a good opportunity to look at it rather than making.
So you're suggesting that we might be able to take care of a few items with this one being the catalyst.
Exactly. Take this as an opportunity.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure I really know the difference between a commission that would have council members on it and a committee that could have public members on it. That seems like a distinction without a difference. But it seems like that could be an opportunity, whatever you want to call it, but we're still having professionals and people that know the subject matter and allowing some public input.
Well, that's how I feel about it. I mean, if you have already a commission with 2 council people on it, and then you're going to abolish that and say to the public, well, we don't want you anymore, and we don't want your involvement, but then you're going to put 2 council people and make a committee, what's the difference? I would say that we should welcome the public and we should welcome their input. These people are bodies that are willing to come forward and want to put in their knowledge and, I mean, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
And I agree with that. You know as well as I do how hard it is to get people who are willing to join these committees and volunteerism, and it's really difficult. So whenever you find people that are willing to to volunteer and join these committees, you definitely don't want to alienate them, make them feel like their contribution isn't welcome and valid. But I think maybe a good step to take would be finding some people who really want to volunteer and join these committees and stick with it, and give it their all.
Yeah, and to
It's so
that too,
difficult to get people to show up for a meeting twice.
right, and to that too, how good a job do we do trying to fill these positions?
Well, yeah. See, I don't know. I don't have anything to do with the publicity on these. That would probably be a question for Michael, but I'm sure they're advertised, Michael, right?
Yeah, we advertise annually at the beginning of the year for all the openings. When the two council members resigned, we had someone come forward and ask to be on, and then that individual resigned shortly thereafter. But and just to keep it in perspective, I mean, the planning commission isn't, in a lot of ways, may not even be working regularly with the consulting team, because again, the way I would envision it, it's going to be your zoning officer, myself, others within the borough. So what's going to happen, and again, that's why I was trying to eliminate that step. I'm rereading my email to kind of, wrap my head around this. I wasn't, I was a little thrown off by some of the questions that were raised. So I wanted to get my thoughts straight. But essentially what you're going to do is, this group isn't going to be working with the consulting team daily. So you're ultimately going to have your own professionals internally working, doing a lot of the legwork to present it to a group of the planning commission, and whether they agree or disagree, then it gets presented to council. So that was the intent behind eliminating that step. It doesn't make sense to have professionals working on this endeavor, present it to a group of the residential volunteers, whatever they may be, and then ultimately gather their feedback, gather their input. Maybe not. You still have public hearings where the whole community can weigh in, but then ultimately goes to council anyway. And so that was the intent behind that, was to eliminate that step of presenting it to a group that doesn't have any authority over it, and then going past that, then presenting it back to council. So again, we can certainly, obviously, the decision to table it stands. I just want to know what sort of information I should gather over the next month or so, or however long it takes, so that I could come back to council with a little bit more of a concise, either plan or idea. That's all I'm really looking for. So
if we go to a planning committee and you just bypass them, you don't have to go through the steps you do with the planning commission?
I think the solicitor could probably weigh in on that, but I think from a technical standpoint, it only has to go through the planning commission for like a final review process and public hearing, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And they're advisory. They that's all the commission is.
So again, we could come back to the topic next month. That's not a problem, or in the future if we see fit. Like I said, I just wanted to get some direction, because if you do want to consider it, but you're not comfortable today, I just want to know what information to bring forward to help make the decision easier one way or the other.
So Michael, can I ask you one more question on this matter? So by taking the planning commission and turning it into a planning committee that consists of the professionals, the consultants, and council members with the help of the community or residents, is that correct?
I'm not sure if I understand.
Okay, so, basically, is it like taking the planning commission, adding council members to it, and then just renaming it planning committee?
That's not what I had envisioned.
No, okay.
Again, what I had envisioned is abolishing it entirely. And
Okay,
then
gotcha.
what I would have is essentially a makeup of, for example, the consulting team, manager, zoning officer, and we'll say 2 council members, similar to other committees that we speak of, that Jim referenced. And then that would make up the body or the heart of the group that's going to really pour over this, share and exchange emails and information, ideas, concepts, do the kind of planning and whatever it may be, land development analysis, whatever it takes. And then ultimately that group, just like, the utility committee or, whatever it may be, will then say to council as a whole, hey, look, we've poured over this for, 9 to 12 months. This is, what we think is going to be best for the community, and provide updates along the way. Similar to, in some ways, what Luann does with the comp plan. She's that liaison, so to speak, but she's hands-on. She's on the steering committee of the comprehensive plan. At the end of the day, the planning commission is the recommending body to council on a comprehensive plan. So again, we have that element, but those members, they're not at the meetings or part of this. They're not at the steering committee meetings. They're not driving the bus, so to speak, when it comes to the comprehensive plan. But when a final product is rolled out, it will go to them for a review of sorts. The solicitor could explain the technical side of that, but it goes to them. But ultimately, they can recommend that to council or not, but council ultimately chooses whether they want to adopt that plan. But they aren't involved in the data, the daily process and the email exchange and the analysis and setting up the community meeting. So if you look at it in that regard, it's the same idea. A planning commission only really has 2 major responsibilities, and that's the recommending body for a comprehensive plan or a zoning amendment. I believe that's my understanding. I asked the solicitor maybe to.
You're right. Absolutely.
So that's where we are. But again, I don't want to belabor the issue. I don't think anybody is looking to do that. I'll see if I can kind of gather maybe some more information on it, a little bit more streamlined. We can, I put it back into an email with maybe some questions for council, and then I can get some feedback and maybe gives me some direction.
Even if you're going to present not necessarily new information, but almost like a 2-column chart. Hey, this is what we have now. This is what I want it to be, so we can kind of like look left to right and see what the differences are.
Sure. Michael, I'll resend my initial email to you, but I guess the question would be, why would we just not assign these duties to the existing zoning committee if we're talking about redoing the zoning program? You've already got a couple of council people. You can assign the staff to work with it. And you've already got what you just proposed. And then one run through the planning commission to get public input would take care of everything. Seems like we already have a committee assigned to do this.
I missed the one part it cut out, but you're saying the existing committee of council members.
Well, you have an existing zoning committee.
Yes, and I agree with that.
All you need to do is add your professionals, your engineers or whatever, to sit in on those meetings, and you'll get what you've proposed without any other changes. When they're done with their work, they run it to the planning commission to get public input, and you've got everything done.
Yeah, and that's ultimately can happen as well. I would envision that. I mean, I have no issue with that. It makes total sense to take the appointed members already. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I have no issue with that. It doesn't matter to me which 2 council members or how we, whether we call it a new committee or assign it to an old one. The idea was just to try to circumvent some of the duplication of calling hearings and bringing people into the fold that aren't really involved in the process. That was really what I was trying to accomplish. But
all right, I think we anybody else have any other comment on that? I know the motion didn't pass, so we will table it for future discussion. I think we are, I'm sorry, I lost my my place. We are back down to public safety with Mr. Blythe, who I know is not here The report from Eureka, I know, gets posted monthly online. And the only other thing on here, which is kind of, very timely, is a discussion on an appointment of the emergency management coordinator. I know we've been without one in the borough for over a year at least. With everything going on, we need to appoint one to kind of make sure we are doing everything we need to do. I know there was a motion on there. If Adam was here, I'm sure he would make that. I don't know how much discussion we want to have on the motion of appointing Michael as the emergency management coordinator.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
So that's what I like, short and sweet. I have Jim on the motion. I have Carrie on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
God, if I may interject, just
Certainly.
if you can see on the screen, there was one other item. It was on there. I took it off, added it back on, which is a motion to postpone the April 25, 2020 Earth Day cleanup event. So if anybody would like to make that motion and second, we will set a new date. I believe we're going to try to set a new date. But at this point in time, it seems a little premature to select a date.
I'll
Sorry,
make that
we discussed
motion.
that, and I forgot it anyway.
That's okay.
I have Brian on the first.
The second.
And Jim on the second. Sorry about that. I was looking
No,
at
that's
an old-
okay. I
an old
added that
copy.
in. I threw you guys off.
No, I'm hoping by the time we postpone that, everybody will be itching to get out of their house and be with people, or at least help clean up some of the trash. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I have that passing 6-0. All right. So I think we have everything covered on the agenda, which brings us to the second portion of the citizens. I know looks like we've got at least 3 on here that are signed in as citizens. Do Lindsay, Maggie, or Mr. Ranger have any public comment? Care to make any public comment?
I can unmute them if you'd like. They have the ability to unmute themselves, but I'll unmute. And if you guys want to mute yourselves again, that's fine. One, two.
I was going to say, speak now or forever hold your peace. No public comment from our 3 public participants. All right. Then we need a motion for adjournment.
Can I
Nothing
address the
further.
mayor real quick?
Certainly.
Is Chief still on too?
Yes, he is.
Chief and Mayor, hey, I just wanted to let you guys know what a great job the officers were doing. I had 2 experiences just last week. Officer Nablo encountered a group of 8 or 9 kids up here on West 9th Avenue, and he handled them with great professionalism. He tried to reason with them, talk to them. Of course, these kids all had their cell phones pointed at him, recording him. But he was professional the whole time, and I just wanted to let you know what a great job he did. And then 2 nights after that, CJ stopped at my house to let me know that I left my lights on in my car. So I appreciate that. So if you get a chance, let them know that I appreciate everything that they're doing and the leadership that they have because of you guys.
Thanks,
All right,
Brian.
Brian, we'll pass it on. Thank you.
I have one thing to ask. Is there any, or has there been any public notification about the garbage pickup?
We posted it on social media, the borough website. I do not know if it went out in the last bill. But we've gotten the calls about it and explained, to some of the folks what's going on. It's
Do you think
obviously
that
a
it would
frustration.
warrant a code red call or us putting something in our water bill? Because there's been a lot of garbage that is not being bagged, and being that our residents are used to putting out anything that they'd like to put out at any time, and the garbage is picked up. And I think that people just don't know, because they're, at this time and these uncertain times that we're going through, people are doing a lot of cleaning out and cleaning up, and they're putting out a lot of things that's being left on the sidewalks, and they're wondering why the garbage men aren't picking, chairs and shutters and just everything out on the sidewalk. And it doesn't look very good in our town. So I was just wondering if there was some way that we could warn our constituents here that they're not picking up anything that's not bagged.
Technically, by our ordinances, everything's are supposed to be bagged at all times, not just
Well,
during.
I know that,
And-
but
and they
our
get
residents,
away-
like we've talked, they are very
They kind
spoiled.
of get away with it a lot of times because the garbage men have been picking it up. But yeah, a lot of people have contacted me. I've told them they've spread the word. It's been in the paper. It's been on all the social media pages. I don't know what else to tell them. I have somebody I talked to the other day and they still threw it everywhere.
Right. I mean, there's people that don't get the paper, there's people that don't do social media, so I'm just making that suggestion.
Okay. Yeah, we could certainly do that. It's not an issue.
Also,
Our
can I
next
ask a
mailing will go out,
question?
what, next month with the borough bill.
I think Ms. Turquillo has a question.
With the garbage, for the stuff that was out online, it says that there is a bag limit in Trenum. What is the bag limit? I've never been notified of a bag limit.
We don't have a bag limit. That was a letter that went out, how they did it for all the communities. Some of them do have bag limits. We don't really have a bag limit that I know of, right, Michael?
No, there is no bag limit. The post that went out on the borough site, it shouldn't have said that because I kind of edited what they had a template that they sent out to all municipalities. Yeah, and it says here, they will enforce bag or cart limits as reflected in our current contract, but so it could be a little bit misleading, but yeah, we don't have that. So there is no limit. The issue is with bulk items or I think cardboard. Those are the difficult ones, but like I said, I can confirm with the staff of whether it went out in the bills. It may have, but if not, we can put out a code red. Most of the calls we've gotten are, I saw it on social media, but others don't have that. We keep getting that same call.
And
get
I'm
people
not
trying to-
sure if it was in the bills or not, and I just thought I might mention it, and we've been getting so much wind, and it can only benefit our town in a good way.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
We have
I
anything
make a
else?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Luann and Carrie,
Carrie.
I have 7:24 on my computer. Meeting is adjourned.
Got it. Hopefully next month we can meet in person.
Hopefully.
Take care, everyone.
Stay
Stay
safe.
healthy.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy
Bye.
Easter.
Happy
Thank
Easter,
you.
everyone.
Take care,
Find
everyone.
joy.